Last year I went to Greece on my birthday and I had the most amazing time. So I'm going to share with you all of my tips, all the things I wish I knew, so you can also go and have a amazing trip. Okay, so let's start off with when should you book? What dates, what months are the best time to go to Greece? And I would definitely recommend going during the shoulder season. I know a lot of people want to go during the summer, but I went late September, early October, and I had the best time. There were no crowds. The weather was really nice. It wasn't too hot, but it was warm. You can get in the water if you want. It was amazing. And the prices are going to be a lot cheaper if you go during the shoulder season. I'll get into accommodations soon, but I was able to get a caldera view with the pool on the edge just by going during October. It was way cheaper than if I would have went June or July. I would definitely recommend, and I talked about this in my how to travel in your 20s video, but Scandinavian Air is the airline I used. I got my round trip flight for $6.95. And it was a really nice airline. You can even upgrade your meal to a first class meal for I believe about $29, and it comes with two beverages, alcohol or no alcohol if you don't want to drink. But I thought it was a really good deal. I really enjoyed it, so I would definitely recommend Scandinavian. But if you want to look at other airlines, you can as well. You can always scan the different airlines, see what prices are the best for whenever you're going, and then book accordingly. I will say though, if you are planning to fly from one of the islands, to be aware about how much you're packing. Scandinavian, they had a larger weight limit. I want to say it was 50 pounds, but when we flew from Santorini back to Athens, it was a 40-pound suitcase limit. And if you're like me, I pack heavy. That's not a lot of wiggle room there. So either get your souvenirs in Athens when you come back, or just know that there are going to be some extra bag fees. Look at that before you go. I think with any trip, the more you plan in advance, the better time you'll have and the less stressed out you'll be. I'd also recommend not packing too many heels, especially if you're going to go to Santorini. I walked a lot during my trip. We didn't rent any cars, and I know I could not have done some of those walks in heels, so just be mindful of that. Or you can get a pair of heels for your pictures and then a pair of flats, comfortable walking shoes. Also pack multiple different walking shoes. I would do maybe two or three, because sometimes your feet grow accustomed to one type of shoe and it can cause pain. So just be aware of that. There's a lot of walking, a lot of rockiness, but we're on transportation now, so let me not get off track. So the next thing you're gonna want to book, hi Smokey, you're gonna want to book your ferries as well in advance. And this is really good if you're gonna do island hopping. I had a good time with the ferries. If you book the first ferry out, you likely won't have any delays because the ferry will be there. Our first ferry to Paros was there at 6 a.m. We had no delays. The ferries are fairly nice. I used Blue Star. I like that company. You can also use, I believe it's Ferry Hopper. Yeah, I think it's Ferry Hopper. I would not book directly on a third-party site because I've just heard horror stories about booking third-party, but you can use Ferry Hopper to see what the cheapest ferries will be. So you don't have to just book with one ferry. That's up to you. So if you find a good deal on another ferry for one of your journeys, book with that. You can definitely use it to see the prices, because when I booked directly, the prices were the same for me. So yeah, Ferry Hopper is a good source, but you can always book directly. And the ferry should not be too expensive depending on where you're going. I'll put somewhere how much I spent on the ferries. Make sure when you're planning your itinerary, you're looking at where the islands are. So you want to be, if we went from Athens to Santorini to Paros, I guess it could make sense, but that would have been a long journey. Also, we took out some islands that we were going to go to just because they weren't on the same line. of traveling to the islands. Like, we wanted to go to one that was a lot farther, and it would have been harder with the time that we have. So plan which islands you want to go to and try to get them to be kind of close together in the same vicinity, and make sure you're kind of visiting them in a row. Don't hop too far around, because then it's going to be a headache to travel to. You can also fly from the islands, especially if you're going back to Athens. If you came out a little too far, if you're on an island with an airport, I would just look in advance. We looked probably way too last minute, and so the prices were a little bit higher, but you can get one from Santorini to Athens for like $100, maybe less, depending on when you need to get back, what time, all that good stuff. Next is transportation on the actual islands, and this is going to differ depending on which island you are deciding to visit. I'll start off with Athens because that's where we flew in. Athens has pretty good transportation. It's a city. You can use a bus system to get from the airport to the main city that you're going to be staying in. We didn't do that only because we were arriving pretty late, so we wanted just safety. It was me and my other friend. We're both young women, and so we just wanted to be safe, and we booked transportation through our hotel. It was about 50 euros. We split that with each other, and he took us directly to where we needed to be. This is going to get into accommodation, but I think it's important to note to choose to stay close to certain things, because it'll help you save on transportation if you're not renting a car. I think Athens has a lot of buses, and we stayed in Philosophia, I think was the name, and it was about a 19-minute walk from the Acropolis and the museum, all the things that we wanted to see. We weren't planning on doing that much in Athens, and there were restaurants and shops in between there, so it wasn't like we had to just walk straight for 19 minutes. We like stopped, ate, shopped, so you can save a lot on transportation. We didn't spend that much on transportation in Athens because we were close to where we wanted to go. You can use Uber, the app, but it's basically connecting you to the taxis, which was easier for me than trying to. I'm sorry. I used it because for me it was easier than trying to get a taxi or trying to hail a cab. I don't know how to do that. So I used the Uber app, and I think to get to our ferry it was about $30, and we split it between the two of us. Paros, we also, and this is why it's important to do your research, we also stayed close to what we wanted to do. We went on a boat tour, so we were close to the dock. We were close to a bunch of different restaurants and all the things my friend found on TikTok that she wanted to see. So we got transported with our hotel to where we were staying, and that was pretty much it. We didn't have to go anywhere else. We could walk to all the things that we needed to get to. Santorini was a pain when it came to transportation, and it's simply because of where we stayed. Once again, I'll get more into this with the accommodation. Santorini, out of the places I went to, out of the islands, I would say you probably should rent a car if you can, or to stay in the two main cities, either Fiera or Ia, or is it Oya? Yes, it's Ia. Okay, so I would stay in one of those two cities. If you are going during the shoulder season, I think for a lot of these places, transportation is better when it's not the shoulder season, when it's more busy, especially the buses in Santorini. The buses don't run as frequently. So I think there were like 30-minute intervals, and we didn't stay in those two cities. We stayed in Emerald Weekly, I think. So we had even less wiggle room for the buses, and every Uber, doesn't matter if you're going 5 minutes or 15 minutes, it was $35 each time, which isn't bad, but if you're going back and forth, it adds up. So I would definitely recommend either renting a car or staying in one of the cities where the bus frequents if you are staying during the shoulder season. I wouldn't recommend going during the off season. I mean, you can, but there are a lot of hotels that are closed during that time, so you have less options. That's the only thing about that. So shoulder season is the best. Because of the time we were visiting, the accommodation was a lot cheaper. In Athens, I really loved it. I would recommend it if you're staying in Athens. It was quiet, it was nice. There wasn't like a front desk person. They give you a code, you check in, you have your room, and that's pretty much it. For Paros, we did splurge a little bit for Paros and Santorini, but you can find cheaper hotels. But the one we did in Paros, we had our own hot tub. I'll put a video or a picture, and that one was about 250, maybe 250 a night, but it was really nice. And like I said, I split it between me and my friend. If you're going with someone, it helps when you're splitting those hotel costs. And then in Santorini, I'll put the hotel I stayed there. It was honestly breathtaking. The view from that hotel was so nice. I had no problems with it. It was clean. We got breakfast in the morning. I didn't like the breakfast, but it was still really beautiful. It was hard to find, and it was hard to like get down from. If you have like any type of mobility issues, I would not recommend Santorini, just because it's a lot of steps. It's a lot of climbing, and it can be very steep. But I like the hotel we stayed at. I don't know if I'd stay at the hotel again, because I don't know if I'd go to Santorini again. That you can get nice hotels where you have a pool on the edge, and that hotel that I did in Santorini was also it was less than 250. I want to say it was 230 a night, and it was really nice. I was okay with splurging on that. But I think during the busy season, that same hotel, that same room would probably go for around $400, maybe less, maybe more. But yeah, you can definitely find cheaper hotels. That one was just like, even at that same resort or at different hotels, you can find stuff that's cheaper. I just wanted that specific room. It was my dream to be able to like sit on the edge of the pool while the sun was setting, so that's why I went with that. But you don't have to go with that same thing. But yeah, Fira is definitely probably the place to stay, especially if you're on a budget. If you don't care about like the view or anything, Fira had it was beautiful. It had a lot of nice shops, good food, and the bus was perfect for that area. We also stayed in a hotel that was by Kamari Beach for a night in Santorini. That one was about $100 a night. That one was really nice. I'll put it in where it was. Also, because we were traveling so much, you have to check out at 11 a.m. A lot of these hotels, the one I mentioned in Athens, they do have a place where you can store your luggage if your flight is later in the day, so that's very helpful. And the hotel we stayed at Kamari, it was so nice because they let us, like, they had this waiting room where we could sit in. They said we could use the pool. They had bathrooms, they had showers, so it was perfect because our flight wasn't until late at night and we had to check out at 11. So yeah, so that was nice. A lot of the hotels will have that. You can call ahead, especially if you don't want to be sitting at the airport for hours, because you can't even check in until I think 2 hours before your flight leaves at the smaller airports anyway. So I think it's important to talk about money. It depends on what you plan to do in your budget. You can find a lot of nice places. You can find a lot of overpriced places too. I can try to put in some of the places. I think I still have my planner. But I can put in some of the places I ate at. I think we ate at one really expensive restaurant in Paros. We spent like $100 on a steak, but it was the best steak I have ever had in my life. Oh my gosh. If I can find the restaurant name, because it was one of those restaurants you kind of walk up on. Spending money on souvenirs, I probably spent maybe $200 on souvenirs. On activities, maybe 500, maybe less. I will go back and look at all the things I spent my money on, and I will insert it somewhere. But it depends on what you want to do. It was my birthday and I wasn't thinking about money. When I go on trips, I'll set a budget, but I don't like to think too much about money because that defeats the purpose. I think about it when I get home and I have regret. I brought $100 in cash, and I was hoping that would be enough because nowadays I feel like you use cards a lot. It was not enough. It was not enough, so I would recommend bringing a little bit more, maybe $200. And the only reason it wasn't enough was because we did a boat tour, which you had to pay the remaining balance in cash. So that took up a large chunk of it. And there were some vendors, when we would go and shop, especially in the tourist areas, they have a lot of people out there. Some of them only took cash. So there would be things I want to buy and I was out of cash because I had to pay for the boat tour. So just I would get a little more. As far as where you can get cash, I got my cash at the ATM. I didn't get it till I landed in Athens. I think Athens is the best place to get it. They have a lot of ATMs. There was one right by my hotel. So if you stay at that hotel, there's an ATM right there, and the transaction fee was not, it wasn't too bad. It was nothing more than the standard. I believe I do bank with Chase. I don't know if that makes a difference, but there was one place when we went to Kamari Beach and we did the outdoor movie. We went to the ATM and they had a ridiculous transaction fee. I don't remember how much it was, but usually Athens, I think it's because they knew that that place was cash only, and so people would be going to that ATM to get cash. But I would recommend the ATM in Athens. As far as what card you can use, I use Chase, but they do have an international fee. So I had a Chime card. You can use Chime. I might put my link, or I don't know how it works. Tell me if you want the link, because if you get an account, I think we both can get $100. This isn't sponsored, but I think I did it with my mom and we got $100. So let's help each other out. But I use Chime and it's a Visa. There is no transaction fee for international transactions. That's what I use. That's what I'll probably use going forward when I travel internationally. So I would recommend that. So when it comes to things to do, there's so much. There's so much, and it depends on who you are as a person and how you like to travel. In Athens, I would definitely recommend going to all the historical sites, going Acropolis, the Parthenon, the museum, all of that good stuff. It is absolutely beautiful. Also, they have free days, so this is especially good if you're on a budget, but they have free days. I'll insert them somewhere. But we went the last weekend of September. I was in Athens, so it was free. All the sightseeing stuff was free, and I think the museum was $10. So lots of nice, affordable things you can do in Athens. Also, for me, I love food, so when I'm traveling, I'm the most excited about food. So I was most excited about food in Greece. I had a really good gyro in Athens. Athens has great food. A lot of people don't talk about Athens because like they're so excited to get to the islands, but Athens was one of my favorite places to visit. It's absolutely beautiful. I would also recommend doing maybe like a rooftop bar so you can see the Acropolis at night and have a nice view if your hotel doesn't provide you with one. In Paros, we did a boat tour and that was awesome. It was beautiful, and it was, I want to say like 175 for the whole thing, but they provided lunch and there was unlimited wine. It was about 4 hours maybe. It was really long, but they had about 4 stops and you can get out, you could swim. If you can't swim, they have like life vests that you can wear. So yeah, it was a great time. I love the boat tour. It was one of the highlights of my trip. But I would just suggest like getting a little list of stuff you want to do, but also being spontaneous. I think that's the best way to travel, is to not always have, like, obviously plan for the things that you know without a doubt that you want to go to, the restaurants you want to visit, but also have room for spontaneity. And then Santorini, I got a massage at Santorini. I will put where somewhere, but it was really nice. It was awesome. I know you can do like riding donkeys. You can hike. Also, I don't know how ethical the riding donkeys thing is. I haven't like put any research into that. So if it's not ethical, I'm sorry, don't do it. But I know they have that. They have, you can hike. If you're really into fitness, there's like a trail that you can do. You can look at the like volcano area. They have a lot of different tours and stuff. I forgot to mention, but I did use Viator to get a shuttle from the ferry to my hotel, and that was a good option for me. And they also have different excursions you can book through. I didn't have any trouble with them, so I'll put that out there as something that you can use, a resource you can use. Okay, now just the random pieces of advice I would have is, if you want to island hop, make sure you give yourself time to island hop. That is one of my biggest regrets, is that we only did 3 islands, but I think we were only there for 10 days. So we only had 1 day at each island besides Santorini, I think we had two, but we still had to move from one hotel to the hotel in Kamari, by Kamari Beach. But give yourself time because we only had one day to really explore and to be at the island we're at before we had to the next day go and travel to another island. So give yourself time. You don't have to pack in a bunch. We were gonna do 4 islands at first in 10 days. And the reason we spent an extra day in Santorini at Kamari Beach is because I thought about it and I was like, that's gonna be a lot of traveling. So yeah, I would say if you're gonna island hop, make sure you give yourself enough time to island hop. If I were to redo the trip, I don't know if I would cut out Santorini because when I tell you the views were so beautiful, I don't regret seeing them. But if I were to go again, I'd probably skip it. I know people say it's overrated, but it's one of those things you have to see for yourself. So if you're gonna go to Santorini, just be mindful of the transportation and how you're gonna get around. Language barrier, I didn't encounter any language barriers. A lot of people speak English, but it's nice to learn a few phrases in Greek. I always think when you're visiting a place, it's good to know a few phrases, a few things. That's it. I definitely would love to go back. I would visit other islands. Some islands I hear are really nice are, I think, Eos, Crete. There's a lot of islands that you can explore. You don't have to go to the main ones. My favorite out of the 3 I went to, I would rank Paros first, beautiful, then I would do Athens, then Santorini. But every island has their own charm. It really depends on what you're looking for and what you're looking to do. If you're more nature focused, if you're more food or nightlife focused. I know this one was a longer one, but let me know about your experience or something you're looking forward to in Greece, or if you want to go, if you need more tips, just let me know. And if you've been to Greece, please put your advice in the comments as well, because I only went to 3 islands and I could have missed something. With that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.